I cannot believe that when we die, everything just ends. Some people live for 70 years, some for 10 years, some for 20, and that's all. Now, even after living among Pakistanis for 50 years, who are still my friends today, nothing about Islam ever truly came to my mind. Knowing or not knowing, being certain, what could be greater than the realization that my death isn't really my end, that life will actually begin after it. Don't ask me about the state of my heart, for tales of sorrow are long. Try stirring it and you'll see how many tunes are hidden within each pain.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you.
Wa alaikum assalam, and peace be upon you too.
How are you? You've grown quite thin.
Yes, there is some weakness these days. Actually, just recently, about 2 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
2 weeks ago?
Yes. So they've started treatment, given medications, and are addressing fatigue and memory issues as well. You could say Siddharth was an ordinary, one of the others, a straightforward person. I describe myself that way too. No greed, no lofty ambitions, just a desire to know the reality. You know that at 16 or 17 years of age, you begin to grow. You haven't made any plans yet, but sometimes you make big plans. You have big dreams. But even then, I didn't have any dreams. I had one dream of becoming a pilot, but that was just a childhood dream, and I never thought about it again. I didn't have any specific notion of God either. I knew Muslims only to the extent that Old Delhi was full of Muslims, and we were very fond of flying kites. To get kite strings and manja, we would go to Old Delhi.
Generally, when people turn towards religion, they are attracted to the spiritual aspect. Hence, they are more inclined towards those religions that have spirituality or mystical interpretations. In Islam, there isn't anything like that. Islam is purely a rational religion. It presents facts before a person and doesn't invite them with the promise that if they accept it, they'll be granted wings and will journey through the heavens in this way. Its invitation is that this world is a test created for trials, and one day you have to depart from here. The afterlife is coming, for which one must prepare. This doesn't attract people as much.
Our Gujarati Hindu brothers, they have a temple here. There's another much bigger temple in front of it, but the people who come and go here, like my neighbors whom you met, they come here twice a day. Food is also available here, as well as prasad. Everything is provided inside. I haven't gone though.
Really? You've never been?
No, I've never been to any temple in my life. I didn't go in India, and I haven't gone here either. I should tell you that I never developed any interest in it. I came here in 1970, and from 1972 until today, all my friends are Pakistani. When I started working in shops, most of the people working there were uneducated, while I was intelligent and educated. I was also better in accounting and had a sharper mind. During work, I would come up with new ideas on how to move forward and improve the work. Perhaps this is why I became somewhat beloved among Pakistanis. Everyone knew me, and everyone called me by the name Sudhir. During this struggle, there were very difficult times as well. And today, when I look back, now that I'm a Muslim, and I see everything through the perspective of Allah, I understand why those difficult times came upon me and how I managed to get through them with ease. Once there was a church here, a small church, which later became an Islamic college. It was established in collaboration with Middlesex University, which is a very large university. Across from it is another much larger church, an old one. This parish church is the oldest church on this street. So when there's a funeral or Sunday meetings, quite a crowd gathers here. Even after 50 years of living among Pakistanis, who are still my friends, nothing about Islam ever crossed my mind. I never felt that since all my friends are Muslims, I should become Muslim with them, because I never saw myself as a Hindu or a Sikh or a follower of any other religion. My family wasn't particularly religious. My father had become a Buddhist, my elder brother also became a Buddhist, and my mother was an Arya Samaji. So in our family, there wasn't this idea of going to temples or Gurdwara. Although, yes, we would sometimes go to Gurdwara as kids to play around, like other teenagers at 16 or 17 when you're not very aware. You get up to these kinds of mischief.
People are not attracted to Islam by looking at Muslims' behavior because Muslims, as a whole, have declined in terms of knowledge and morals. Muslim scholars, intellectuals, political leaders, and ordinary Muslims, if they follow their religion's teachings regarding knowledge and ethics, embody them as good examples, and exhibit those principles in their personal, business, and social lives, then people will definitely be drawn to them.
It was probably 1982. I think so, but I'm not entirely sure. I met a Polish lady who was older than me by around 15 years. I don't know what she saw in me. She was also sent by Allah, I suppose. The thing with women is that when they start cooking for you, you know you're in their grasp. Gradually we grew close to each other, and before we knew it, we rented a house together, and eventually we got married. In the end, we spent 32 years together. Actually, after my wife's death, I felt this even more. I've always had this notion that I cannot believe that when we die, that's the end of the story. Whether we have done good or bad deeds for 70 years, 10 years, or 20 years, and that's it, that all accounting is settled here. Somewhere deep down, this thought bothered me. I just couldn't agree with it. It didn't convince me in any way. I saw my Muslim brothers who would observe fasting because we worked together. I would say, look, you all are observing fast today. You shouldn't work, and I'll do your work for you. Regarding this question about death, I was talking to a friend from India. I wanted to ask him, but maybe he couldn't understand what I was trying to convey. So, this issue related to death grew within me. This desire to delve deeper into it, which is a longing that a person has, started to increase. I began to ask more and more because I couldn't believe that there wasn't something after death. This curiosity kept growing day by day. I kept asking people. Some could tell me something, but none could explain it fully. Someone would say, this is how it is for us, and another would say, this is what we do. But my curiosity kept increasing. And right here where you're sitting now, I had just finished talking to a young man in India named Raza, who sometimes provided gemstones, as I told you, gemstones and such. After talking to him, I hung up and I heard a voice. The phone disconnected after I spoke to him. Now I'm getting emotional. Sorry, my friend. And then I turned on Javed Ahmed Ghamidi on YouTube. After that, I was surprised to see the material and the quality. I was astonished by the quality of work I saw there. Before this, I had never followed any Muslim scholar, nor did I know who was who. I knew the name of Prophet Muhammad, knew who he was, knew about Jesus Christ, etc. And the amazing thing is that when I opened Javed Ahmed Ghamdi's first video and clicked on it, the video was titled, "Why Did Allah Create Humans?" Now see, the incredible thing is that when I opened it, the very first video from Allah's side was the answer to my question, that life doesn't end with death. Real life actually begins after death. But then I got confused. The confusion was whether I was on the right path and if what I was doing was right or not. So I began to search for Javed Ahmed Ghamidi. The people at Al-Mawrid gave me Javed Ahmed Ghamdi's contact number and said he is currently in Lahore. I called his son in Lahore. I told his son briefly about the matter and said that I wanted to speak with him. Then I told Javed Ahmed Ghamidi my name and what had happened to me. Javed Ahmed Ghamidi said, "Look, the thing is, brother, when Allah wishes to open someone's heart, He opens it. This is your personal life. He has made you a Muslim. And whether you tell this to anyone or not is up to you." With Javed Ahmed Ghamdi's words, I felt somewhat reassured. I felt reassured that I had spoken to the man whose name Allah had given me. I've also repaired computers for 10 years.
Oh, you know that work too? Wow, you've done a lot.
That's how all this time passed.
I think you must be quite active.
Very, very active.
As you're saying, you used to help everyone in the whole flat sort things out.
That's a different story. Then I used to help them with even bigger tasks. Now, I don't know how to pray, nor do I know how many times to pray. Because every person, our Muslim brothers, especially those from the Kashmir side, have their own way of praying. Each person has their own belief. Some people pray more sunnah, others pray extra, nafil. Some do it one way, others another.
New Muslims should not feel troubled if they see disagreements among others. In any religion with millions or billions of followers, there will be differences. Allah has given humans the capacity for recognizing existential realities and endowed them with a sense of deduction and interpretation, which leads to differences. Differences will exist everywhere. Wherever you venture in knowledge, you will encounter differences. And in practical matters, the practices that have been transmitted through consensus among Muslims act on those as they are agreed upon. Make a list of differences. There may be 10 or 15. If you wish, you can research them, or otherwise, follow the opinion you feel at peace with.
After that, I found out that Al-Mawrid also has an office in London. I started pursuing it, and there I met a man named Raza. I told him that I prayed to Allah at one specific time. But he told me that there isn't just one time. Rather, there are various times. Like in the morning, there are 2 units, then at noon 4, then 4 more, then 3 in the evening, and at night as well, with specific numbers of units for each prayer. I thanked him and said it was very kind of him. He told me that I had to recite Surah Al-Fatiha in Arabic and then connect it with other parts of the Quran, also in Arabic. He also mentioned that there are detailed explanations in some videos by Ghamidi. I then watched Javed Ahmed Ghamdi's multiple videos. He explained very well how to perform the prayer, which part is in Arabic, and which part is up to you in any language you prefer. You see, when I started, the problem was how to do this in Arabic, so I wrote down the Arabic on the right side in English script. At that time, I didn't know Arabic at all. Then along with it, I put a good English translation on the left side. After reading the Arabic, when I would stand up, I would read it in English. If you read it. In the name of Allah, most glorious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Master of all worlds, most gracious, most merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment. You we worship, and you we ask for help. Please show us the straight path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, not of those who have incurred your wrath and who have gone astray. Later, by Allah's will, I memorized the Arabic. But sometimes when I recite it with the English translation, I feel a different kind of strength in it. And you will see it feels more fulfilling this way. Javed Ahmed Ghamidi told me it's okay. At first he said, look, these are practical things. Be patient. He who has opened your heart will also help you memorize it. And I will pray that you remember it. Since then, I haven't contacted him much. But because Javed Ghamidi has prayed so much for me, whenever I call him, he always seeks blessings and prayers for me. He even asked me to pray for his health, and I do. I don't say that I do it every time, but when I do, I put all my heart into it. It feels like I am sending a message that has to reach Allah, and I get lost in that message, especially when I pray for someone. I thought, how will this happen now? I said, I can't remember. Allah, this won't work. I can't remember Arabic at all. Believe it or not, I remembered Surah Al-Fatiha right then, just sitting there. And I also remembered both surahs from the Quran, 108 and 112. When I went to pray in the adjacent prayer room, I still wrote the Arabic words on the wall in English letters. Believe me, I could read it without looking at the Arabic text. Gradually, I began to realize that I could do more than that. But when it became ingrained in me, a kind of satisfaction and contentment started growing within me day by day. That whatever I needed to know, I had learned. Now, what do I need to do? What have I already done? I need to know about that too. Because Allah will judge based on good and bad deeds. What good have you done and what bad have you done? Then I talked to Javed Ahmed Ghamidi on the phone. The reason I got emotional when I mentioned Javed Ahmed Ghamidi's name is that Allah brought the right person to me. I say that Allah does everything on time, and I have proof of it. I was married to a Catholic woman for 32 years. And during that time, I didn't even hear Javed Ahmed Ghamidi's name. I didn't think about it then because she was also Catholic, wasn't she? Then it occurred to me that she wouldn't have allowed me to become a Muslim. Allah waited until she was gone to show me the way. When these small ifs and buts start connecting, when they start aligning with each other, it brings immense satisfaction. When you understand that if you're suffering through an illness, it might be due to your own mistakes. But if Allah wills, you won't suffer at all. Some people even escape from in front of a moving train. Then a longing developed within me, like a burning desire. If I can't go for Hajj because it's difficult for me right now, I must at least perform Umrah. I asked my friend Mr. Das if he would go with me for Umrah. He said, yes, let's go. I booked the tickets and we went for Umrah. When we were in Medina, we stayed in a hotel nearby, not too far from the mosque. We decided to go to pray, but as soon as I walked about 50 yards, I started feeling pain in my back and it felt heavy to breathe. I said, Mr. Das, this has become difficult. We must go for Umrah no matter what. So we traveled from Medina to Mecca and I wondered how we would manage. He suggested I sit in a wheelchair. There too I felt that whatever was happening to me was happening because he was with me. When we got into the wheelchair, the Saudi guards wouldn't let us go inside. They had a rope up and wouldn't allow us beyond it. We had to do everything from the outside. When we arrived, I was sitting in the wheelchair, feeling ashamed in my heart, thinking, look at me, someone so active who used to be always running around. Then a guard, who was a police officer, let us through and lifted the rope, telling us to go inside. People say that the police there rarely say yes. I said, don't ask me about this, just see that everything is happening as it should. When we went inside, he seated us right next to the grill. Mr. Das told me, I've been coming here for 50 years, and no one has ever let me get this close. I said, I don't take credit for this, but there must be something to it. My brother was very happy that I had become a Muslim. My elder sister in America was also pleased, but one of my sisters in India showed some discontent. I wouldn't call it anger, it was just, I don't know what it was. She didn't understand the idea of changing religion. I asked her, what was your religion to begin with? First, find that out. There is only one religion. The same faith has existed from the beginning. As Guruji says, everything else is just mystical interpretations, different religions made by people. In India, people live by this. Not only in our country, but also in South America and Africa, because education hasn't reached everywhere. People's eyes haven't been opened. In India, we have 220 million Muslims. But they haven't done anything to invite others to their faith, because they too are caught up in this mentality of my group is bigger than yours and your group is bigger than mine. Javed Ahmed Ghamidi explained that where one is not in a state, Friday prayer is not obligatory.
But this is exactly what I wanted to ask you about. These are the challenges. When you become a Muslim, people will try to engage you in debates.
Absolutely, they will. That's why I'm starting about this. Mr. Das will join. Some people will argue with you. They'll just need to be explained one-on-one. Maybe they'll argue more, especially our old friends who might say, why did you become a Muslim? Now, in the mosque where Mr. Das goes, everyone there knows that Sudhir has embraced Islam. The day I go there, people will initially say, oh wow. And later, I receive several calls with people saying, oh Sudhir, now you've become like us. Who said I've become like you? I've become a Muslim, but I haven't become like you. You know, when our friends Muslims meet you, they accept that you've become a Muslim, but they still try to belittle you. You know what they say? Have you given up drinking?
Many people, when they leave a particular religion or culture, retain some ideas and notions. This is part of human nature. They should continue to research these ideas to ensure that nothing becomes a source of innovation or deviation in religion. If there is no such thing, then mere terminology and interpretations don't make a difference. The Quran has not made people bound to this. For instance, we use the word Khuda, God, even though Arabs only used Allah. Similarly, in the matters of disciples, teachers, and students, terms keep changing. One should only see if there is something wrong. If not, then words don't matter.
I feel a kind of freedom now, a sense of liberation. I have realized what my end will be and what will happen afterward. Knowing, or rather having the certainty that my death is not my end, that it's the beginning of life. What could be greater than this understanding? It's this joy that brings tears to one's heart. Sometimes while praying, a connection with the one above is established. That link forms, and you feel how vast the heart of Allah is, who created us, tolerates all our mistakes, our sins, our flaws, and yet He keeps giving, keeps nurturing with water. We keep eating, wasting, but He never says that He will stop, never threatens to cut off oxygen or stop water from flowing from the mountains. Has He ever said that? But He has made it clear that there is accountability. He has said, if you do this, you will go here. If you do that, you will go there. You have the freedom to choose to believe in my religion or not. When this settles in your heart, it brings a sense of freedom, of liberty. You become free. There is no fear, no anxiety about what tomorrow will bring. Our Prophet said it's like demolishing an old house, clearing the land and building a new house. So don't worry. So that being on earth, whose name Allah placed in my ears, I believe in Him. Now others may believe or not. I can't convince everyone, but such a drastic change doesn't happen overnight otherwise. It didn't come in 50 years of living among Muslims, being totally committed to them, eating, drinking, sitting, and living in their homes, calling their wives my sisters-in-law. Even then, the thought of becoming a Muslim didn't come. So how did it come out of nowhere one day?
How can a new Muslim strengthen their connection with faith? By acquiring correct knowledge. When someone becomes a Muslim, the first thing they should do is obtain a clear understanding of the faith. This doesn't mean becoming a scholar, but simply reading or listening to a simple translation of the Quran. These things are easily accessible now in written and audio form. Practical teachings, which we call sunnah, should be understood and practiced as they deserve to be.
In my life, I sometimes think, for example, about my neighbor, a Gujarati, a devout Hindu. He prays twice every morning and again at night if he finds time. Believe it or not, he was so happy when I told him what happened to me. He said, "The one above has seen you, brother. What happened was good. Worship him. He is the one." It gave me support. And I thought, look at this devout Hindu, a Gujarati, encouraging me. Now I am in this phase of life, as Javed Ahmed Ghamidi says. He was saying yesterday that we are of similar age, so I told him a couple of jokes, and he laughed. I have a lot of love for him and for my Allah. I don't fear Allah, I love him, and I am sure he loves us. This idea of praying out of fear, fasting out of fear, I don't agree with that. If you're fasting for Allah's sake, although due to illness I can only keep 4 or 5 fasts, I still long for those days I missed. It's the love of Allah that keeps us going. Otherwise, He didn't create us to harm us. Look at this beautiful book we have. Whatever religion you follow, you should read it. Who am I to tell you not to read it? But I urge you to read the Quran as well. I was a Hindu, and today I can openly say that Islam is Allah's religion. And my effort will be to follow it with sincerity. Try it, read it, not as a religious book, but as a book. Read it slowly, page by page. If page 2 compels you to go to page 3, then page 4, page 5, maybe there's something in it that speaks to you, and Allah will know that this person is worthy of opening his heart, of filling him with his love. What could be better than that? After this life, death does not mark the end. The real life begins after death, eternal life. Don't be mistaken in thinking you'll get away with sins, or that once we die, there's no one to ask questions. The one who will question you is there, ready for you. Read the Quran. Understand why you shouldn't do wrong, because you're not supposed to escape by doing wrong. The ultimate judge, Allah, is waiting over you. Don't deceive yourself by saying, there's nothing after this life. There is. This is what our Lord has said, and my heart believes that it's true. He is the one who created you. And among you is the disbeliever, and among you is the believer. And Allah is seeing everything you do.